special good morning to listeners and viewers of GBN's network, whether you're listening to classic radio or you're listening to our viewing, I should say, GBN TV. Good morning. Those of you via social media platforms, good morning and welcome. Let me say good morning to my, of course, co-host this morning, Mr. Sylvan McIntyre. Good morning and welcome. How are you doing this morning, sir?
Good morning, GT. I am doing well and giving God thanks for yet a wonderful day that I woke up to.
Yes,
and I'm blessed to be here. And pleasant good morning to all, again, our listeners, viewers, followers, well-wishers, supporters of this program and of the GBN network. My pleasure to be here.
As always.
Yeah.
We have just wrapped up, of course, the I could say one of the main events of our independence celebration, the Independence Day, the actual day that we got independence. We had that, of course, listen to you doing the commentary on the parade and so forth. Interesting to hear, of course, your vast knowledge of it is always appreciated a whole lot. Yeah. Yourself and veteran, of course, journalist at Shama did an excellent job.
Richard Simon too, as an old veteran.
Yes, he was there also together with of course, what's her name again? Brenda. I always like to slip her name. And excellent job in terms of the commentary. I think it was appreciated a whole lot. No, independence is wrapped up. We're going to get into a bit of discussion about that, but we always have to do that way of opening of course the show in mornings.
Yes.
In terms of a little bit brief of just what happened for the past week in terms of conditions out there. We had to hit the kick engine. We had to touch kick engine. We have to touch on that a wee bit. I saw sometime, was it last week, Thursday, Friday. We saw the seas was up a bit, in terms of rough seas and so forth. How was that? Of course, coincides with Kickham January. How was that? I was wondering if that was part of what we see.
I'll attempt to give some little explanation on that, but meteorologists have said that there is no direct connection.
With
the waves that's happening and the Kickham January activity. As a matter of fact, people tend to believe traditionally, that the area where Kickham January is located and the boisterous sea activity that is experienced in that area, they tend to associate it with Kickham January, but it has nothing to do with that.
Okay, good to know that.
But I'll give a little bit more on that on terms of the bathymetry in that area that causes some of the movement of the currents, how it aids some of the activities of the current and the waves that are seen in that area. So we're going to talk about that a little bit and what happened in terms of some activities at Kickham Journey that NADMA released.
Yes.
We will speak about that and the risk associated and what people can do to be better ready to deal with events like this.
All right.
And obviously we are doing our review into the past week and weekend.
Yes.
Quite a lot. Independence peaked at February 7th.
Yes.
2024, 50 years. And man, it was awesome in terms of the celebrations at the National Stadium.
All right. I wonder if folks would agree with you to say it's peak. We haven't a whole year,
Well, it has to be. Yeah, despite there's a year.
It may not have peaked yet until the end of 2024.
Oh, well, maybe it concludes in 2024, but there has to be a highest point.
Well, a high point, maybe you could actually say, February 7th was the high point.
It should be.
And continues to grow until the end of...
it's going to go further than the 7th?
Yeah, there's lots of activity.
I know there are more things happening. I'm not too sure that the level of output and maybe participation would be leading right up to the 7th and beyond. Right. I think there will be continuous activities. There obviously would
But it would be at the level of February December.
I don't think you're going to see that. I don't think as much money and resources will go into
I've been hearing the organizers saying, there's lots more to come.
I know there's lots more to come.
There's lots more to come. So that's why I asked, maybe we haven't peaked as yet.
Well, it was only my belief, based on what I saw, that we probably got to a peak. And it feels natural that if there is the date itself when independence was actually had for Grenada, that should be the high point, the highest point.
All right.
But we get to that, we prepare to get to that. And I think psychologically people will feel that way. We were moving towards that, leading up to it. Despite we will have more things, I think your mindset would be, well, you know what? The 7th is come and gone.
Yeah.
While 50, most of us celebrating about day GT. What do?
We
celebrate
on that date. At the end, when the date ends, that's what everything we forget about what the day before.
Yeah,
most times. You understand? There are people who take a whole week. You understand?
A whole month. I celebrate for my month. I am December 17th, and I would go all the way to to January 17th.
January.
Not that I have a lot of stuff. I don't celebrate.
But you just keep the memory of your birthday to that length.
Yeah, and I know members of my family. My daughter, as a matter of fact, she's one of the biggest day in her life is her birthday. She's anxious. She doesn't sleep. I know my son, one of that died as well.
Yeah,
he would have celebrated his birthday January 13th, on and on and on. And this is why we did something in his memory then, January 13th, because that's it. And I think Grenada's birthday 50. A lot of people wished her, but she looked good for 50 actually.
Yeah,
Grenada looked really good at age 50.
Yes.
She looked as though she's going to another 50, looking as strong.
50 years young, as some folks would say.
Yeah, 50 years young. And in the driver's seat, the drivers there and the passengers on board moving to 50. She's looking good.
Yeah,
she's looking good.
Everybody enjoying that ride.
But in terms of what happened generally, I'm not going to speak specifically on this activity on the 7th.
Yeah.
But our last conversation, our last program last week, we touched on quite a number of issues. We spoke about the preparation before, and we spoke about the aspect of what some people call Grenadianism, patriotism, etc., and information relative to how we look at Grenada as a sovereign nation and how we pay the kind of respect and homage to the country that we say that we love, and how we lost somewhere along the way, we regressed in terms of how we culture our children, our families to respect the things that it's really unique to Grenada. And in particular, we speak of the colors, and the colors have been so widely politicized that some people figure that if a particular power is not in government, that it should really not wear another color.
And that shouldn't be.
It really should not be.
Should not be.
And this year, despite the yellow, I think they don't call it even yellow, that's in power, but it's the National Democratic Congress. And the yellow, and it's gold. And just to remind people that the color within the national flag, it's red, gold and green. So it's not necessarily yellow. And because it's gold and jubilee, we expected gold to be the dominant color to be showcased. And we saw that with Her Excellency. You saw her at the parade?
At the parade.
I mean, she was a golden lady from head to toe. I saw her escort. He was wearing her golden glasses as well. I mean, he was kind of cute to see them. And she really displayed, I wouldn't say flaunted, she displayed the colors and recognition of the golden jubilee. Very nice. And
I would agree. She usually goes out, goes out to the max, in terms of demonstrating what she needs to.
And every year I do commentary, I told her the last time, I said, Your Excellency, I follow your colors. She said, no, you're not the only person. A lot of people follow my colors that I wear, and I think she takes that kind of a pride to represent appropriately, and that's cool. But in terms of the celebration and the preparation leading up into independence thereof, the coloring and the painting of the streets across country, that was really cool. The village preparation that went way up, that also coincided with Saraka in St. Andrew. It added to the whole flavor of celebrating 50, and I love to have seen the community involvement and participation. My small regret about the painting and the beautifying, though, that I personally thought that a lot of more emphasis should have gone on ensuring that the areas of safety, as you know, safety is my big thing. So if the areas that should be safe were considered to be risky, well, there's some level of risk or hazard associated, I would have preferred to see them highlighted a bit more. For instance, or pedestrian crossing, and speed humps, across country. I had a caller 2 programs ago who called to remind me of the painting on the pedestrian crossings on the west coast, all the way up to Victoria and these places. And to be honest, we do not do them regularly,
or give them the much attention that
we don't give them the kind of attention.
But I would say I saw the Bolio Bridge got some attention. The broken rails and stuff. I did see that they were repaired.
Right.
You understand? Driving up to Grand Thing a couple of days ago, and I did see that they got repaired.
Right.
So that was a plus.
Was it as a result of independence?
I guess because remember in one of our programs we did show a video of a bridge that where the rails was broken off and stuff like that, and I'm assuming maybe someone have saw we did. So the rails were fixed.
Yes.
You understand? The rails were fixed. So that bridge in Bolio, the rails was broken for a wee bit now.
Yeah, that's my home bridge, right?
That's your home bridge.
I was born right across the bridge there.
Oh, really?
On the left side heading to Granita.
Okay.
That's my home village. I was born right across the bridge. So that's news to most of our viewers. I grew up in St. Andrew actually, but my home place Bolio, Mount Gay area.
All right.
I used to run around with a little bit of clothes in the field around Mount Gay, looking for sugar apples and stuff. So that's my. But the point is, I think the messages that we send across, they're resonating, they're registering some people, and we look to see more. But our pedestrian crossings and our humps, they do produce a level of risk across country. There are quite a number of vehicles that just throw themselves over them, they get damaged otherwise, and our visitors in particular, or returning nationals who are not quite familiar with the roads, I think we need to be a bit more consistent with the painting of the pedestrian crossings and the speed humps, and not just painting them regularly, but they must be painted with appropriate paint that would be more durable,
go through the standards of time,
and they will also be reflective, so that at night you can see them, not just the dull, cheap white paint and black otherwise. And sometimes they often internationally recognized as what you call zebra crossing.
Yes.
And the black and white really represents the colors of the zebra. So when you paint them, then the black itself should be strong enough to resist the weathering, the weather, and so also should be the yellow or the white, which is traffic colors.
So that's where the quality of the paints should of course, a lot of attention should be paid to that. Another question I want to ask, well, how do you feel about the level of patriotism that was shown during our celebrations this year? How do you feel about it? If you want to comment about it at all.
Yeah, I want to comment on that. I want to comment Grenadians.
Yeah.
For the turnout at the National Stadium.
Yeah.
I think it's the first time the stadium was filled.
I think the stadium must have never been filled to capacity. Even though we had cricket or anything at the time, I don't think we have never had that.
We've never had that capacity. And there were the people that we saw in the stands and on the ground. Yeah. When the performance of the youth came out, the numbers that were, it also said to you that what you were seeing on the stands were not just the people who were there, because they were not in seats. They were assembled somewhere else, preparing to go on. So that number of them, the 2,000 plus that were there, they were not reflected in the numbers we were seeing. So it's the first time really that I'm hoping that, I think the capacity is 15 to 18,000.
I think it's a 15,000 capacity our stadium was built for. 15,000.
Is it?
Yeah, 15.
So I think I've
always heard 15, but and that's inclusive of the party stand, as they would call it. You know, that where the folks would stand and so forth.
And the mound as well. You know, there's a mound for the cricket close to the scoreboard.
Yep. Right. I don't think, which means it could have been up to 18 if all they was used.
And then we did have people on the ground and so forth. And after the police band left, quite a number of people followed, because people, a lot of people come to the National Stadium for the military parade. And what did you think about it?
Seemed interested in anything else? Just the parade.
Yeah. What do you think about it, GT though?
It was good. It was good.
They gave us justice?
I would say yes. I had some reservation in terms of the match pass in terms of the uniformity. I think a lot of work still being put into that.
The dressing, you call that?
The dressing, formation, yes. Yeah. There was a little hiccups in it. Always you don't get it right all the time.
Okay, so you were able to identify little hiccups?
Yeah, I was able to. Okay. They were.
And you're not a military person, right?
I'm not a military person, but I viewing it myself, and I was saying, hey, they off it, they off. And there was a couple, and why I was a little bit taken back with. Most of especially I would forgive the let's say the Red Cross and the other
Pathfinders.
I would forgive them. But when you see the actual folks who are in the police force having those misformations, it kind of worries you a little bit. Yeah. We need to buckle up on that in years to come.
Okay.
There are years I have seen it better,
right?
But somehow I'm not sure what happened this year. They missed it.
But you think because they put a lot of effort into the innovations, having a lot more activities that could have...
The innovation parts I don't think played up, but I'm talking about the actual marching.
Yeah, but sometimes a lot of emphasis, because the police has a lot to do.
Yeah.
Maybe they could have cut on it.
I know you're trying to give them some presences.
But it's really... I respect the people's view and what you observe, what you saw, and maybe there could have been, but they would have tried their utmost best.
They did their best. I'm not listening to the best, but I'm just saying, being our 50th anniversary, I would have liked to see a really much better performance than what we saw.
Okay,
that's what I would have liked.
Understood.
That's what I saw. They should have come out and say, hey, we have to do what we have to do, our best. That's what I was looking for.
Yes, and I think they tried their best, and maybe the best wasn't good enough for them.
Yeah,
but it's still a respectable honor demonstration.
I give them all the honor and credit for what they did.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? It was beautiful. The formation of the 50, not only the 50, but the 1974, 2024. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
You understand? Wasn't perfect.
Right.
You understand? But just the way the formation went, you could see a lot of work went into it.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? Maybe it should have been practicing a whole year before.
Yeah. with no real excuse to the RGPF, but they are going through some transitioning.
Yes.
In terms of the attrition rate, quite a number of people are accepting the retirement package.
Okay.
There are quite a number of persons who attain the retirement age, and there are quite a number of persons leaving for other reasons. And so the RGPF, in its quest to recruit and get back to a particular level and go beyond,
yes,
they had to be modifying even the recruitment processes, where they have created a hybrid of recruiting people and training them so that they can fill those gaps really quickly. So there are quite a number of things, a lot of things that are going on to try to maintain what's happening, and with the aspects of crime, the focus on the kinds of crimes that are likely to be committed and have been committed. A lot of focus has been placed in ensuring that they're up to par with quite a number of things. So no real excuse to them, but I know the challenge of grappling with everything at this time may have caused some things to have not been delivered to the standard that people may have expected it.
All right.
But again,
and it's understandable. Understandable.
They've done, and I think the honest intent was to give Grenada the best showing.
All right.
And that is not an understatement.
All right. I agree. So when we do for a break, let's take it. We come back and we get more into the discussion when we come back. Stay with us, folks. It's To The Point for today, Monday, the 12th day of February. We're coming right back. Stay with us.
Planning and Development Authority of Grenada, PDA, is enforcing regulations to curb illegal, disorderly, and unauthorized development in several locations throughout the state of Grenada. The authority is concerned that structures mainly associated with vending are negatively impacting the environment, has undesirable public health and sanitation consequences, present obstructions to vehicle and pedestrian traffic, can become projectiles during adverse weather conditions, and generally affect the aesthetics of the nation. The PDA will work along with stakeholder ministries and institutions to effect the demolition, removal, and disposal of structures which fall in the category of illegal and disorderly development, commencing January 2024. In this regard, persons who vend in or occupy such illegal structures are advised to secure their personal belongings and have the structures removed ahead of the planned PDA demolition operations. These actions of the PDA have become necessary to safeguard and protect public health and the environment, ensure the safety and well-being of all citizens and visitors, discourage any future disorderly construction, and encourage compliance to regulations pertaining to physical development in the state of Grenada. This is a message from the Planning and Development Authority of Grenada.
National Lotteries Authority is a proud sponsor of many cultural activities within the Tri-Island state of Grenada.
My name is Anderson Matterson, also known as Leftist, and I'm a calypsonian and string band music player from Carrico. I support the games of the National Lottery Authority because culture benefits tremendously. Annually, the NLA supports the Carrico and Pitamatic Carnival, the Carrico String Band Music Festival, and all regattas, among other activities. When I play the game of the NLA, I can see where my money goes, and it's an investment into our culture.
Yes, Grenada, when you play the games of the NLA, you enable us to invest in the skills and talents of our people in the areas of sports, culture, and nation building.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers, to The Point for today, on Monday, the 12th day of February. With me this morning, Mr. Sylvan McIntyre. Welcome back, sir. Now, in this segment, we have gone through, talk a wee bit about the post-independence. Let's get a wee bit into Kikim Jim. You did mention that when we come in this segment that we're going to talk about it. Now, folks may, you did say in the intro when I did actually speak about it, but you said you save it for this segment. You know, we talk about the rough seas that we see that we saw on Friday. You did say it's nothing really to do with Kikimjini at all.
No,
nothing to do with Kikimjini at all. So that's, I guess folks will be happy to know about that.
Yeah.
No, there's always a risk factor that comes around with a volcano when you get to certain levels of wanting to. We wouldn't say it's going to have an eruption, but you never know what can happen. Yeah. You understand? Yeah. Tell us about those risk factors that individuals should pay attention to. Keep ourselves abreast with information pertaining to what Kikimjini what could happen, just in case. And maybe we not worrying about it because folks may say, well, all over the years we always had some issues with Kikimjini.
Yeah.
But you never know when it's going to get to that point where something may happen that would affect us. What are those risk factors that folks should pay attention to?
Yeah. But thank you, GT. Before I really go specific to answer your question in terms of the risk factors and some things, I want to just set a little bit of background history and knowledge of the Kikimjini submarine volcano that we have.
Yeah.
That volcano is located about 8 kilometers off the northern coast of Grenada, just outside Soteres. And it was discovered around 1939, there about the 1930s it was discovered. And since then, it has erupted around 13 to 14 times, actually. It is referred to as being thermally active, meaning that it is not a dormant volcano. It is active and has been active since it was discovered. It does pose a threat to Grenada, to passing vessels, and obviously to land and neighboring islands. It depends on if it has an eruption of a particular magnitude. As it stands now, there's a risk to boaters, sea users, and so on that ply that route that may travel directly over the volcano or around it. So there's what you call an exclusion zone of 1.5 kilometers in regular time that people should stay away. And when it is active, there's an exclusion zone of 5 kilometers that people using that area should stay away from. What we have seen over the last couple of days as the Seismic Research Center at the St. Augustine University, Trinidad, they are responsible for monitoring all of the activities at Kikimjini. They do have some instruments that are placed there, and from the last report that I saw from NADMA, they have indicated that all of the instruments are working and they are capable of relaying the information that has been analyzed at St. Augustine and when it comes back to Grenada. Once there's a particular threat, they will release particular alerts. So there are 3 threat levels or alert levels that monitors Kikimjini and it's color coded. Green meaning that nothing is happening, basically it's okay. Yellow means that there are continuous activities. Orange means that there's increased activities, an eruption is possible. And red means that an eruption is imminent, very likely to happen at any time.
Did I see brown or something in between?
No, I'm sure, but there's no brown.
There's no brown, okay. No. I thought I saw in the release someone had that in the release there was brown. There was green, yellow, brown, and red. I missed.
So there's green, there's yellow, there's orange, and there's red.
All right.
So
maybe I'm mistaking the orange for the brown. My bad on that.
Right.
My bad on that.
Good. So that color coding, the yellow, it is like an amber, which says that you need to just be careful, be cautious. For what has been recorded there over the last couple of days, as NADMA released from the 9th, there was some tremors that the instrument picked up. Okay. I think the strongest was about 3.3 on the Richter scale, and that in itself is not very significant, but it is high for a volcano when it is active. Okay. It tells you that there's more than just the normal activities occurring. What is comforting about it to an extent is that they didn't say to us that the instruments are working. I know there are hydrophones. Hydrophones will record the sound from the active volcano. You have tidal gauges that will tell you when there is a rise in the tide. There is what you call seismograph. The seismograph will tell you whether there is earthquakes or tremors occurring on site. And there are other instruments generally that would monitor the activities at Kikamjin that is carried real time. And there's a monitoring facility at Mali that's close to the secondary school that's up there, the McDonald College. There is a center there that it is computer linked to the instrument, and so that the activities in and around, some are just around islands and rocks around Kikamjeni, and there are others that are close to the shorelines and the area land space in the northern part of the island that would pick these activities up. So the tremors that were experienced over the last couple of days, they were registered mainly in the northern section technically of the island. We have not heard anyone per se speaking about down west southern part of any such activities. But what is critical to all of this is the relaying of the information, how we treated it. And this is why you've not heard NADMA go off and elaborate quite a bit on the information, because people tend to misread information, they tend to overact, and they tend to do things that can create and send panic across country.
And have their own interpretation of information.
So, and I'm sure this is one of the reasons why you have not seen them come to the GBN. They've gone off across the country and giving particular information. What they've done was sent out a release that give a breakdown as to exactly, and the information that I'm giving here is information technically that will be contained in the release that they give, that indicates that there has been some activities, it is being monitored, and if there's anything to report further, they are in a position to do that. And I think it is critical for people to understand that a submarine volcano, it is dangerous because there are some hazards associated with it, as you were asking. If there is an eruption of a particular capacity, there could be tsunami generated as a result of that.
Yes.
And there could be wave action that can cause sea surges, and it could lead to coastal erosions and damage to the coastline, etc. But as it stands now, over the 13-14 times that it has erupted, there has not been any indication or anything of that magnitude has happened. What is also important to note is the volcano was growing rapid and was intended or likely to become an island sometime in the future. It was growing at a particular rate. But within the last couple of years, there has been some eruptions underneath that was not massive to come up to the surface, but it broke that cone and led to some spill runoff that has decreased the growing tendency of when it was going to come up. So right now, it is just under 300 meters below sea level, about 273 to 275 meters under sea level. So that is not very deep. That's the rim technically of the volcano itself. It is just about 2.7 something under sea level. So I think the most important, people need to know that it has been monitored, and that people who use the area, they need to look at it. The coxswains and the captains of vessels, it's on their chart. They are able to see that. The volcano itself, when there is increased activity, it emits a particular gas that decreases the buoyancy in the area. And when we speak of buoyancy, it means the ability for vessels and other things to stay afloat. So once that gas intermix with the water and everything else, it decreases the ability for vessels to stay afloat, and so they can be sucked in. And that's one of the reasons why the exclusion zone was placed, so that people could understand that anytime this volcano is acting up, that there's a high risk of vessels being sucked in because of those activities. And I have seen it myself traveling that area. There are some of the regular vessels that would actually observe the exclusion zones, and there's others that I would see that go right over where the volcano is located.
If one is to ask a question for just for knowledge sake, an underwater volcano and a volcano that is more on land, what is the level of the impact that we could see from them happen, or which one is more to cause a greater impact?
Right, and that's an interesting question, and a simple answer to that, it all depends too on the level of the magnitude of the eruption. There are a few more hazards associated with the underwater volcano, because the one on land, there's no water displacement to happen if it erupts. But with the underwater, there's the water displacement that you can have. There's also the landslides that you can have that can create this water displacement that can cause tsunamis, wave actions, coastal erosion as a result. The on-land volcanoes, if they erupt like we had in St. Vincent, where I worked for over 3 months during that period, they do create some hazards, but there are about 3-4 hazards that are generally associated with regular volcanoes. You have the pyroclastic flow, and you have the lava, you have acid rain, and quite a number of those things. Once they are associated with the eruption, they do carry some level of threat.
And that's for the on-land one.
That those for even the one that you have on the sea, they are still designed or made up of same components. They have heat, they have lava, they have the pyroclasts when they come through, they have the molten rocks, melted rocks, etc. And you have, when they go up, the acid rain and other things that could be associated with them. And then you have generally sometimes the lava flow that goes down into stream beds, etc. That as it comes out and it cools, it forms. Some of our islands have been formed as a result of volcanic action anyway. But that's general information. And people should be mindful that volcanoes should not be treated lightly because they don't often give you the kind of time to work with. We were fortunate in St. Vincent that the geologists, hydrologists that we had that worked with us, Richie and others from the St. Augustine University, they were on point technically. They were able to say to us that the volcano is getting to a point where it is likely to erupt. They could not have said exactly that it's going to happen this hour, but they knew based on the activities that were happening there that something was going to happen. And so when it was about to spring, we were briefing the Prime Minister, we were having this meeting, and then they called to say, what we're seeing here, this volcano could go up at any time. And so say, so done. As the meeting was finished, we had to spring the warning, we had to spring the evacuation order for people to get out. And it was a blessing that we had no loss of life as a result of that. But it says to a nation, to a country, to a disaster entity, that you need to have information out there and you need to have activities to prepare people for those kind of eventualities. An evacuation plan is critical, and identifying safe places. Not necessarily you can say any particular place on your island is safe, but doing a mapping and a hazard mapping of your area, of your country is critical. And I know that Grenada does have a hazard map for volcanic eruption. It will show the areas where past experience of volcanic eruption occurred. There is still the green, the yellow, the red, etc. that would tell you where the safer areas be. And this safe zones, they are determined on models and on history of prior evacuations. So the one for St. Vincent that we looked at, it gives scenarios of particular magnitude of eruption and likely to where lava flow, pyroclastic flow is expected to reach. But in terms of the ashfall, that in itself will depend again on the level of eruption that occurred. In St. Vincent, remember that we had reports of ash getting all the way to Spain. We had St. Dominica, we've had St. Lucia. Barbados in particular had a considerable amount of ashfall, and that is one of the followed from erupting volcanoes.
All right. So McIntyre, we drew for a break. Let's take it, and when we come back, we discuss some more. Stay with us, folks. Don't forget you also have the option of calling in 435-2041, and don't forget you also could call us via the WhatsApp 435-2041 when we come back, folks, and we discuss some more. Stay with us. It's Classic Radio GBN TV to the point here. We're coming right back.
When you need your prescription filled or you require
I want to control your anger. There's a way to feel better. That's one thing to remember. No matter where you are, you can be a star. Stop and take a deep breath and relax
our year-long celebration of our 50th anniversary of independence. Let us show how much we love our country.
Let's all stand together as family, friends, and neighbors throughout.
May the spirit of freedom fill our hearts.
And the colors of patriotism paint our lives.
From the Technical Support and Services Department
of the National Lotteries Authority.
Happy 50th anniversary of independence, Grenada.
50 years we strong and more to come. More to come. More to come.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. Don't forget you have the option of calling in 435-2041. In terms of our conversation this morning, if you, of course, have a question or two you may want to ask, feel free to do so. Mr. McIntyre, welcome. We do have a first call. Let's take a caller in this segment before we get back into the discussion. Caller, good morning. You're welcome.
Yeah, good morning, GT, and morning, Mr. McIntyre. At this point in time, I'm concerned about a number of issues, but most important is the fallout of the impact of the spill in Tobago, which seems to be a secret for most people in the region. Although Starbrook News have highlighted, it is said that the government, the authorities in Trinidad have no clue as to the volume or the amount of oil that was spilled. And it seemed as though there's a failure on the part of the authorities to be able to mobilize the people. I know people are out there, because I'm in touch with some of them, who want more decisive action to be taken, and that is not the case at the moment. Mr. McIntyre, tell us, what are the risks based on the proximity of Tobago to Grenada? What are the possible? Is there any risk? NatMa sent out something yesterday, said, well, don't worry too much, but what are the real risks? Because sooner or later, we might have an Exxon Valdez situation in the region here. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So, thank you, caller, for that question. And at this point, it is not my area of expertise technically to, give distances and likely impact, but there is a level of threat that is minimal at this stage based on the perceived and the estimated extent of the spill. Obviously, once you have any spill within our boundaries, our maritime boundaries and so forth, there's actually some concern to Grenada. But the experts have done the analysis of the situation, and they have not given us any indication that there is a direct threat to Grenada at this point. Right. Based on the movement of the spill, based on the wave and tide actions at this point, I am absolutely sure they are monitoring, and that's the information that was relayed. They are directly in touch with NADMA. They are the disaster entity, ODPEM, that is responsible for Trinidad and Tobago, and they are directly in touch with Dr. Walters, monitoring the system. And if Grenada is required to provide any level of support, or Grenada is placed under any direct threat, the information is definitely going to be relayed. They are monitoring it. They do have aerial monitoring, and they do have the maritime monitoring that is also taking place.
Okay. Let's take another call. Caller, good morning. You're welcome. Good morning to you, caller.
Hello, good morning to you, GT, and good morning to Mr. McIntyre. Mr. McIntyre, we are so blessed to have a man like you in disaster management. Mr. McIntyre, I remember when St. Vincent was going through the disaster, you step in, you feel it, you see it, you was in it. So having a man like you to walk with us in this country, especially when we are experiencing a disaster, I know you're real mentally fit and ready to take on the challenge to help your people cope in this situation. So I thank you so much, I was worried about you when you were in St. Vincent, but thank God, God bring you and bring you back safe. And I know you is the right one to help us mentally, after God, to go through if any big disaster happen to us. Have a good day.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much.
So I want to thank the caller, on air for those comments and commendation, and I just want to reassure the viewing and listening public that I work directly with Mr. Walters very closely. We have a very good relationship.
Right.
So my experiences rubs off in a way. It is requested and required at time, and we do have that relationship. But anything that we need to speak about, we normally have that. As a matter of fact, just on Saturday we were both together.
Okay.
So don't be worried, lady. Yes, despite I am not directly attached or assigned, but I would definitely lend my support where required.
All right, we do have another caller. Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Everybody okay? How was all weekend?
Not too bad. How was yours?
Still independent. Happy independence still in any case. We're getting a nice show outside here right now. This is not raining for a long time in town. It's a show, but you're coming right now, so a blessing for what we need here. Yeah, back to the Independence Celebration. The Independence Celebration was nice in any case, I mean, to ski Jackie, they was well planned. But the Queen's Park crowd in any case had a big crowd once upon a time, I think, between the cricket match, between Australia and some other game. But the time of the cricket time, it was filled in any case too. But this time, the second time I see it full up like that, I mean, for a long time. Although some of the ministers say it's too big in any case when you go full, but I mean, it's just some other shots out of them people in authority as they call themselves leaders, They get on the foresight, Yeah, the activity, as a carnival in the city, don't market it as it used to be in the old time days, I mean, nice vibes and things, Shatney, jab, come on, market it, that's sort of nice, Carnival was nice and thing, let's give big up, even the park last night again, a nice show in the park, it's not a big crowd around the person, but yeah, a few people well enough in any case, you're reasonable, nice guys, so and everything going down in any case, But the only thing I like about the big up in any case for this independent, some of them, actually the mobilization minister, saw him when he put up some bunting and thing up and thing, some flag and thing up, some colours and thing up, and some colours. And I told him he mixed up the colour wrong from the beginning. And he take me and told her, which I feel this is disrespect. If you know, I tell him that I do painting for years and thing, national colour, and I know he operated is red, yellow, and green. It's not green, red in the middle and yellow on top. And he put the whole Lagoon Road, green, red in the middle, all along the airport on trees, which is embarrassing. Let me get our color flag straight. Let people get to understand the color of the flag. Get to know how it's supposed to be. Not any kind of how and feel like appreciation. No, that's bad vibes. Uncle Gary picture, which I see there in the park for Independence Celebration, a little 8x10 picture. I find that disrespect again. They should have pictures with Gary. They have enough artists in Grenada. Big pictures with Gary. The father of independence. Celebrating independent 50th anniversary. Let me people who might know Gary. Let's see Gary, big up Gary all over the parish, all over Grenada. So I have photos of Gary.
Right, caller, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your contribution this morning. Thank you a whole lot. We do have another caller via the WhatsApp. Caller, good morning. You're welcome.
Hey, GT, good morning.
Good morning to you.
And good morning, Mr. McIntyre. Mr. McIntyre, there'll never be a parade without you narrating, because otherwise I wouldn't be looking. So thank you again for the good narration and also the way you explain things, I mean, even the dumb could understand. Anyway, my point now, I just want to get through with Mr. McIntyre was talking about the volcano. And I remember as a young person growing up in Isla Road, and then we could hear sometimes the rumblings, and you could also see like the sea drying back, during the time in June and sometime in August growing up in Isla Road. And Mr. McIntyre, I know we have like a monitor system in McDonald College up there, that's in the Southeast area. I think you just mentioned it too. Okay, and most of the people on Isla Road, they get their news from St. Vincent, sometimes Trinidad, not really the mainland. They listen to like the radios and stuff and things like that. So my question to you, do you think that seeing that Isla Road is close by Kikemjini, just a couple of miles away, because it is very close to Upper Rock and Lirak, which I think you have an idea of, and also London Bridge, which we also used to hear when I was small. People used to say there was volcano in that area too. London Bridge and also Upper Canary, which is very close to Kikemjeni. So the question I want to really ask you, do you think that they should have a subsystem in Isla Rune, all right, that could correspond with sorters, just in case like they have like an erosion or something like that, that the people in Isla Rune could be noticed. Also, because the fishermen goes out sometimes without even knowing the weather, whatever. You know what I mean? So can you tell me that? Do you really think that they really need something in Isla Rune or in a form of evacuation for the people of Isla Rune could be at safe place in mainland Grenada? What do you think about that?
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And that's a caller there via the WhatsApp this morning. Don't forget, you'll always give us a call via WhatsApp 435-204. Any response to the callers?
Yeah, sure. The caller that spoke about the independence celebration, let me just back up and say, in just my own few words, they get through. That independence celebration, kudos to the committee and everything, they got through. Regardless of the little hiccups, the pitfall, you're not satisfied.
You'll always get everything perfect.
Right, but that was good. And the comments, they are well in place in terms of we need to do a lot more. Regarding the other caller and Kikemjeni and the monitoring systems, I think there's need for the early warning systems to be enhanced across Grenada.
Yeah.
And that's not an understatement. NADMA, I know, they're currently working on that. And that's not just only for volcanic hazards, but for all kinds of hazards. Our warning systems generally needs to be enhanced. And the conversation or the argument as to whether Grenada is a tri-island state or whether it is archipelagic in nature, maybe we can say we are archipelagic, meaning that we have more islands where people are settling and life exists. And I think there is Grace Duncan Island and there is the Isla Rune where people are spending more time. So in looking at our warning systems and considering people and evacuation, they are persons that should be considered. So you're not wrong. I am not aware that analysis in terms of the warning system for the farmers and the inhabitants, the fisher people on that island, how they have been involved in that. But it is something I am sure that NADBA would be listening to this program as well. They would look into as to what warning systems are in place to one of the people on those islands. It's something that requires some level of consideration.
All right. Mr. McIntyre, I did ask you that question earlier on, of course, in reference to the situation with the high tide that we were experiencing over there. Reasons for that.
Yeah. So Met Office did give an explanation as to why we were getting those tide actions. And again, I would like to really advise and encourage our nationals. Let us try to follow the information from our Met services because they're really relative and they've been doing a fantastic job. As I have seen them grown over the years, and they do give us warnings that will help us and to guide us along. But people, we ignore them. Even the haze that we are experiencing, even the weather that the caller just caused, seeing some rain falling on the outside, and we seem a little bit taken of it, but that also is in the forecast for today.
Yes.
And so they do a fine job. And they did say to us that there has been some actions from influence from further up north that has created those tidal action that has increased the wave levels.
Right.
In terms of the association, many studies have gone into that. We've had scientists, we have had geologists, meteorologists, and so forth look at what was happening. And we, growing up, people always thought that when you got to Kikemjeni with those vessels and that area, and it's not Kikemjeni, it is Kikemjeni, and people tend to be, and there's also a Kikemjak.
Yes.
Because
I've heard of that
somebody
also.
spoke about it in terms of the guy was speaking about songs associated. That whole bathymetry in that area, that whole base of the level of the sea in that area, it has a number of volcanic systems within that general area. So it is a very, very active area, and this is why I think it's in 2003 thereabout, when that survey was undertaken by one of those US teams, they found out and identified some more active heads in that area, Kikemjeni, Kikemjak, and a few others. There's also an interesting biological existence in that area with botany, like you have flowers and shrimps and so on, all these things. Interesting.
Yeah.
In that general area. And if you ask me one of these days, I think the Kikemjeni area should be considered as an area for research and for that kind of a tourism, where people can go down there, have a safe system, a monitoring system up for the safety of people. And I probably would live to see, in the not too distant future, Grenada would market that area as a tourism destination, where people can come, boat out into the area. They can be set on safe areas, and there can be instruments that would take people down to have a good view, like you have the underwater sculptures and so forth. You can take people down in safe instruments that can go down. They can take close-up shots of Kikemjeni and to be extracted. And so there obviously has to be an in-depth, rigorous, state-of-the-art monitoring system for the safety of persons who want to venture there. But I think it's one of the things that is likely going forward, like the Calypsonians and them would say, in time to come. I think we're gonna.
I hope we can see it in our timeline. Anyway, let's take another caller. Caller, good morning. You're welcome.
Oh yes, good morning, GT. How are you today?
Not too bad, sir. Good morning to you.
Have a good day, and good morning to Mr. McIntyre. On a different note, I want to emulate the people of the following departments: the Inland Revenue Department, the NIS, and the registry for the humility, the dedication to the task, the patience. Take a bow. I had to say this because these people are so humble in their duties. They never complain, and they're up to the task. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Accolades and comments and compliments as well in place. And sometimes there are those silent, unsung heroes that we don't mention. Yes. So if you identify a single amount, I concur with your sentiments. Gentlemen and ladies, thank you for your sterling service. We want to again continue with the information relative to what we're seeing. So the information, the science has not indicated that the activity of Kikemjeni is associated to the boisterous action.
Yes.
What happens there is that area, there's a conversion of tidal action coming from the Atlantic and the Caribbean Sea. Okay. So the Caribbean Sea is over on the west. You have Atlantic coming from the east towards the north.
Yeah. And
as they traverse and they mix, there is like a cross of the tides in those particular area. And so it creates, if you recognize the Atlantic side from Grenville into Sotez, it is always, people say it's always rough.
Yeah.
And on the west coast you realize it's a bit more calm. That's the Caribbean side.
Okay.
So where those water appear to be crossing those tides, it creates that level of tidal action that generates wave action. In addition to that, I spoke about bathymetry, which speaks of the layout of the seabed. You have topography on the land that speaks of the elevations, the valleys, and the lows and highs, and so forth. That's topography and land. But bathymetry speaks of the layout of the seabed. And so in that area as well, there are a number of highs and lows like you have on the land, valleys and mountains at the bottom of the sea.
Yes.
And they too create those kind of actions that would sometime result in actions of wave that may move as far as the coastline.
Okay.
So that's why that area is never really always very smooth, and it doesn't have to do solely with Kikemjeni. With Kikemjeni, as I mentioned before, it has to do with the emitting of gas and its effects on the buoyancy in that area.
Okay.
And so far, there has not been any indication based on its recent actions or previous that it is associated or has caused anything. There's a suspicion that I think we had a Island Queen one time, or there's one vessel that was taken or lost in that general area.
I've heard of that.
There is no direct record
or link
specific evidence to that it may have, but it's believed strongly that it could have been associated. Those are conversations that we've had. Right. But I cannot say that is facts, and I would not want to say on a program that it is facts. But that has been the discussion. But I know some of the things that were discovered in the Kikemjeni area. It has to do with, again, our ability or inability to treat the environment appropriately. The scientists said that they saw, like, these 20-pound cylinders and other things that I saw, and things that may have come from the land. There were pictures that were taken of some of these things that were found in the Kikamjeni area. So it shows that maybe these things have been dumped, pulled there, or from action coming from our rivers and stream that goes down. Again, I've had some people who've done some eco diving and all these things in the area, and they've found quite a number of human action deposits on land that made its way into the ocean that is causing negative consequences on our marine life.
Okay, we do have another caller. Caller, good morning. You're welcome.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you. Good morning. Go right ahead with your contribution, please.
Is a concern I have because in a large tree close to the telephone pole, and also it poses a threat to my father's house. So recently I called Nalma about it, and they told me since it's close to the telephone pole, posts and lines, that I need to call Glen. I call them, and they tell me they need to come and look and make sure if it's really close to the line and so on and thing. And so far I haven't seen them, and it's quite a few weeks now. So I'm kind of concerned about that. So maybe Mr. McIntyre can give me some advice as to what to do next.
What kind of advice could you offer?
No, so I think he's done what he had to have done, reported to the entities that should assist him, and it is still encouraging that he was able to get through, and they did point him in the right direction. It's just a matter of maybe the process of time based on what they may not have attended. But yes, they need to inspect a report, verify what it is, and then the corrective actions would definitely have to be taken. Whether it's what you call a provider responsibility based on the instrument that they may have or equipment in the area, they definitely would take responsibility. I know in particular I've worked with Glen in that, and they're very keen on the risk, the hazards, and correcting of those expeditiously.
Yeah, especially poles that's in close proximity.
They move to that. They always move. Once there's an issue, I know Glen could move on it, and so has some of the other providers. But there is a process in terms of reporting hazards like trees and other things that pose a threat. Our system needs to be able to set up to move much quicker in that regard, because it has to do with people making a report. The inspectors, the hazard inspectors have to inspect it, and in some cases the matter have to go before a court of law, and the court have to determine that it is liable or the person has liability or responsibility for, and give a judgment as to who should correct it.
But sometimes it's a bit time consuming and frustrating.
So it's one of the gray areas that we think our system should work towards, making it more easy for people who report levels of risk and threat, that there should be a quicker way of handling it before it gets to us. And it's a few things we need to work on much quicker. We speak about our road signs and our hazard areas, and I continue to advocate that our areas in Grenada that pose a threat to people, they need to be marked. Where you have rock falls, there should be signs showing rock falls and demonstrations and photos showing the danger.
Yes.
Where you have steep turns and valleys, there should be signs on our roads showing that. And they're not many, if any, around country.
And there are some. I have seen some in some areas, but there should be more.
A lot more.
They need a lot more.
And those set up, they should be maintained.
Yeah.
Moss and mold.
And some have been there for a wee bit that it becomes to a point where it's not noticed anymore.
Yes.
In time some of the conditions prevent that it has faded and stuff like that, or for condition prevent maybe the land in particular has moved turned in a different direction, and then the authorities may not have been paying attention to that.
Correct.
Let's entertain another call. Yeah, let's take our final caller for the caller. Good morning.
Call back in any case.
Caller 1 sec. Caller 1 sec, please. Be very brief, okay?
Yeah. Listen me, please. So McIntyre, actually, tunnel in the past years gone by, where they had the tunnel underground, the system working. They have a drain in the front of the tunnel, middle of the tunnel, and back of the tunnel, and the two sides of the tunnel have drains. But I see they put up all the tunnels with tar, and in a few years to come, if they keep on tarring up the tunnel as they going right now, you will not be able to pass it us now. Because they leave the tunnel to go underneath the roofing. I tell them I dig up the tunnel and leave it back put it back as it used to be in the past. In any case, So McIntyre, have any idea about the Bermuda Triangle?
I do.
How deadly Bermuda Triangle?
do have an idea based on my geographical.
Okay, thank you, Colin. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Mr. Mack, we get into that stage in the morning. It's already 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Any closing comments before we take a wrap for today?
I want to commend Grenada for our level of patriotism that was shown over the last couple of days, particularly heading to Grenada's 7th independence, and the effort put into beautifying Grenada. I would hope that the energy would continue into ensuring that we show how much we care for our country. But most of all, that the risk reduction initiative, they must be enhanced, and the level of consciousness, the information processes, which include signage, maintenance of the signs, painting of our sidewalks, pedestrian cross and humps. They must be some of the initiatives that we must continue to do so that we would create a greater aesthetics and safer environment for road users, whether it is motorists or pedestrian. The angle is that we want to make Grenada a more beautiful place, but we want to ensure it is also safer.
All right.
All around.
All right. So McIntyre, thank you once again. Information shared is always fruitful information. Certainly hope all listening and viewing audience heed to them, and may all the best. Thank you once again. Hey, folks, thanks for being with us this morning here on To The Point. Join them again tomorrow. Tomorrow being Opposition Tuesday. Join us for another edition of To The Point. That's where I say goodbye for this edition. Goodbye, folks.